Hey everybody, so this is DotPlot and stem and leaf plot. DotPlot I think is number 1 in your notes, and stem and leaf I believe is number 3 in your notes. It's on the next page after the DotPlot. Okay, so for a DotPlot, it's a very easy graph. The hardest part is the scale. So in order to figure out how to scale it, I kind of just play around with it. That's the thing about stats. It's like not very precise, right? So like you just kind of got to mess with it till you get it right. So what I would do first is identify the lowest value, 68, and the highest value is 92. That's my minimum and my maximum. So on the graph, you have to make sure it gets from 68 all the way to 92. Now, you want to make sure you do an appropriate scale. So if I'm scaling this and if I were to go by 1, I would be like 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. That takes forever. It's too much time. Nobody scales like that. So don't go by 1s because that's too much. There's too big of a gap. If you were to go by 10s, like 60, 70, 80, 90, that's probably not enough because that would only be like 4 tick marks on your graph. So if I were doing this example, I'm either going to go by 2s or 5s. I'm going to show you guys going by 5s just because I think it's like relevant to know that. Okay, if you're going by 5s, when people count by 5s, they go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc., right? So you wouldn't start this at 68 because nobody does that. They go by 5s like on the 5. So you would start it at 65 and then go all the way up to 95 if you're going by 5s. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I might try like this. Actually, don't write this down yet, okay? So 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. And if you guys notice, like it's not quite like, it doesn't go all the way to the end. You could leave it like this. I wouldn't take off points. It's fine. But if you want to make a really good, accurate graph, I'm going to erase it. And you guys see how I skipped 3 squares? Instead, I'm going to try 4 and see if it evens out so that it goes the whole way. You can also always extend this line if you need to. Like, I wouldn't make a big deal of that. I'm just going to fix this. So I think going by 4 squares is going to be better. So this one will be 70, 75, and then 80. Honestly, you guys, scaling it is the hardest part out of all of it. If you get that, then you should be good. Just make sure you're consistent. You skip the same amount of squares each time and the same amount of numbers each time. So this will be 90, and it should fit 92 like that, because 92 would be like somewhere right here. We'll worry about that in a second. Okay, so next you're just going to, it's literally called a dot plot because you're going to put dots. People either put dots or X's to represent each data point. I don't care which way you do it. It doesn't matter. So let's start with 68. It's a good idea to cross them out as you do them so you don't forget one. Because if you forget one, then your whole graph is wrong. So let's go ahead and cross out 68 and let's put that one on there. So let's think about this for a second. So technically this right here is the middle between 65 and 70. That would be 67.5. So 68 would really be like right about here-ish, and 69 would be right about there-ish. So we're going to put it at 68, my first dot. Everybody see the dot? It just goes just like that. Okay, because this is 67.5 technically. You don't really need to write that. Just know that's what you're looking at. So 68 would go right there, cross it out. Next, you're going to do 71. 71 will go right about here. 71. Okay, then 75, this would be 77.5. So you guys, you can go in any order with these data points. I kind of started here and I'm going along this way, but you can go in any order. So 77 would be about right there. Since I noticed, I'm just going to put all 3 77s on the graph at the same time because there's 3 of them. 77, 77, 77. So if you have something multiple times, you stack them on top of each other. You can also use X's, but don't alternate between X's and dots. 76 would go right here. And you want them to be like the same height-ish, like, you know what I mean? So then this one is 78. So that would be like right here. And then 80 right there. And then 92 I circled, but I didn't actually do it. So if we look at like how the other ones were done, 92 would be about right there, a little bit below 92.5, which is that little line I drew. So 92, there were actually 3 of them. So go ahead and put that. 1, 2, 3. They should be a little more evenly spaced, but it's not a big deal. I'm down to 3 left. I have 87, 76, and 86. Let's put on 76. I already did 176. I didn't realize there was another. 86 will be right here. And then 87 will be right here. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be close. So that's what it should look like in the end. And then you always want to give your graph a title. So the title of this graph would be test scores, and you can just kind of put the title below. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to stem and leaf plots. Okay. So stem and leaf plot is number 3 in your notebook. Go ahead and go there now. So a stem and leaf plot's a little more complicated. It's going to be like a histogram on its side. So the stem is represented by the tens digit and the leaf is represented by the ones digit. So basically you do want to, like, again, you're going to need to put them in order. So let's identify the lowest, 42, and the highest would be 91, I believe. So your stems represent the tens digit. The thing about this that sometimes students confuse is like the first stem will be 4 because that's the tens digit, right? But then sometimes students don't want to put a 5. Why would they not put a 5? Because there's no 50 number up here. But you can't skip one because you're showing like a graph. You're showing like you want it to be spaced out according to like how the numbers are spaced out in real life. So 50 counts even if there's no point for 50. So you still need to put a 5. So you guys notice how it started at 42. So that's why I started with 4. You don't need to put numbers that are outside the range of your data, the range being from this to this, right? But you do need to include all the stems that are between these. So 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. You don't need to put 100 because it's outside the range of your data. Hopefully that makes sense. So then we're going to put 6, 7, 8, and then 9. I'll just pull that down a little bit. Okay. So now what you're going to do is go ahead and put on your leaves. The leaves, the only thing you have to make sure is that they're in order. So you always want to put them in order from lowest to highest. Okay, so our lowest number is 42. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 for my leaf. Then let's go ahead and do, what's the next number? You can put them in order before you do it if it makes it easier for you. I'm kind of trying to do it in my head. So the next one would be 71. If I forget one, I can erase it. That's why I recommend you use pencil for these. 73, 74. I'm trying to make each number just kind of like take up one box so that it stays even. 76, 77, 78. That's it for the 70s. On to the 80s. 82, 87, 88. So see how I like lined it up so that this is right under, so they're taking up the same amount of space. 87, 88. And then yes, you do need to put a 0 for 90 because if you put nothing there, then it's as if there were no numbers in the 90s. So make sure you put a 0 there. And then for your key, you can just pick any data point. So I'll just do this one, 42. That was the lowest test score. Okay, so I'm going to put 4 line 2 because that's how it appears right here, right? It's 4 and then a line and then a 2. Represents a test score Sorry if your answer won't fit in this box. It's totally fine if it doesn't. You can write outside the box. A test score of 42%. Notice how right here it says percent, so you have to write it in percent. It could have been 42 points if it had said points. So you have to be careful to always use units. Okay, so the next example is about GPA. This is an example of something where you have to use what's called split stems. Okay, so split stems is basically when the data points aren't spread out enough for you to have enough data, so you actually split each one in half. So let me explain this a little bit better. What's the lowest GPA here? It's 1.2, right? On the highest GPA, no one got above 4.0 here, so it's 3.7. If you think about it, if I go by 1.0 is my scale, then that would mean I would have 1, 2, 3, and that's it. I would only have 3 stems, right? But 3 stems is not enough. We'll go over why it's not enough in class. 3 stems is not enough. You must have at least 4 to 5 stems for it to be a good looking graph. Yes, it matters. So what I would do is actually, instead of 3 stems, I'm going to make it 6 stems by just having the data. So you'll see in just a second. Let me just put it up here. So the lowest GPA is in the ones, 1.2. So I'm going to put 1, 1. Then this time I'm kind of going like by boxes. Then I'm going to put 2, 2. Then I'm going to put 3, 3. So do you guys see how I now have 6 stems instead of 3 because I put each one twice? And you're literally going to split the data in half. So this one represents a GPA from 1.0 to 1.4, okay? Not to 1.5, because if you think about it, you're counting starting at 0. So like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5, right? I can't see my camera if I'm talking in front of it. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is also 5. And it has to be even, so you always go 0 through 4, 5 through 9. Because we're not counting starting at 1. We're starting counting at 0. So that's why it's like that. So think in your head that this represents a GPA of 1.0 to 1.4. This represents a GPA of 1.4 to 1.9, etc. Okay, so this one would be 2.0 to 2.4. You do not need to write this, okay? So, oops, there's a little mistake there. You don't need to write this down. This is just me explaining like how you know what goes there, okay? How you know what goes in each column. So 0 through 4 goes here, 5 through 9 goes here, 0 through 4 here, 5 through 9 here. Okay, let's do it. So we got 1.2, and don't put a point, please. Don't ever, ever, ever put a point or a comma. You're never supposed to do that. So just put the number, because in the key, you're gonna explain what it means, okay? So, do we have any? We have 1.3. Do we have any in the 1.5 to 1.9 range? Oops, I made a mistake right here. That should be a 5. It should be 0 through 4, 5 through 9. 0 through 4, 5 through 9. This should say 5. So do we have any in the 1.5 to 1.9 range? No, so keep going. So next we're on to 2.1, 2.2. Oh, I forgot 2.0. So we have 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. 2.0, 1, 2. Did I forget anything else in the 2.0 to 2.4 range? I don't think so. Then in the next two, I'm going to put the 8 and the 9, 2.8, 2.9. So I got 8, and then I got 9. Okay, 3.0 to 3.4, there's 1, 2, 3 3.0s. So for 3 3.0s, do I need to put the 0 3 times? Yes, you do, because there are 3 students who had a 3.0 GPA, and then we're going to put a 3.3. Oh, was there not one? Oh, there is a 3.7. So this is going to be a 3.3. And then you guys notice I circled that one in the beginning because that was my highest value. So I don't have an X through it, meaning I didn't put it on yet. And one thing I recommend is count at the end to make sure that your number, the amount of data points here represent the amount of data points here. Okay, so for this key, I'm gonna say, let me pick a different one. I'll do 2 line 0. You can pick any one. Means a GPA of 2.0. And that's so somebody who's reading your graph can understand what you're talking about. Okay, if you have any questions about any of these, bring them to class on Monday. Thanks for watching.